Great, thanks, Anthony. Wonderful. Welcome, everybody, to this first presentation and showcase by Sign Up Software. Today, we're going to be covering our ExFlow AP automation and the art of embedded automation in Dynamics 365 F&O, or Finance and Supply Chain Management now. My name is Mark Payable. I'm a Senior Solutions Advisor for Enterprise here in North America. I'm glad that you could attend today. And of course, I think you saw, if you've got questions as we go through this, because it is a recorded webinar, don't hesitate to ask those questions in the chat, and we'll try and save some time at the end to answer those directly. So with that, I'm going to cover just a few slides on who Sign Up Software is, our history and our capabilities, and then we're going to get right into actual live demo to showcase all of the capabilities that are in our current release moving forward. So first and foremost, Sign Up Software is not new. We're a powerhouse global ISV. Born in 1999, our first product was released on old AX. If you go back in time, as far as I just dated myself, that product was released out of Sweden in 2003. And since then, we've actually obtained more than 2,000 plus global enterprises across the world. You can see from the quick map that we're have live offices in North America, but obviously Europe, APAC, all around the globe. Over 250 employees now with acquisitions, located in 65 plus countries, and a Microsoft partner ecosystem that works with us directly, of actually over 160 plus partners today. Quick history, I'm not going to read these PowerPoint slides, but again, we started in 1999, released our first product, ExFlow AP, back in 2003, and then started the global march, as you can see in the slide, in our expansion around the globe. From there, we actually had a distributor in North America that many of you know in the banking and treasury automation that represented ExFlow for a number of years. And then recently we were reacquired. You can see the North American and IPO and private equity back in the 2021 to 22 timeframe, and have fully staffed North America as well as the rest of the globe, as you can see. And currently we're in acquisition mode as well. We acquired the extension product line for project accounting and management and those capabilities. And just recently announced, not on this slide, is the Dynamics Web product is all now part of the Sign Up portfolio for all of our customers globally. It's very, very powerful a suite of solutions. How that looks is this slide right here. It's kind of the Microsoft rooms of the house, as you can see. It's a standard slide that we use. And today we're going to focus on ExFlow AP automation, really in the room of the CFO. But as I stated, we actually have the extension product line in project management and accounting that covers the room of the COO and CIO and CTO. And of course, Dynamics Web also flows into this solution area in the areas of e-commerce and those specifics. Today, again, as I stated, we're just going to cover ExFlow and the suite that is around AP automation. We also have the extension product line as well, production planning, project management. In fact, we have a webinar, I believe, tomorrow on this capability. March 20th, for those companies in the room of the COO that may like to extend AP automation and take a look at the rest of the product suite. So very extensive, an entire suite of solutions for all of our customers. Speaking of customers, just a splash screen real quick of some of our more than 2,000 plus global customers. You probably recognize quite a few of these enterprise logos. Near and dear to my heart, F1, right, and motorsports and racing and those capabilities. But, you know, the Houston Texans and Mattress Firm and some other recognizable large enterprises that process thousands of invoices if not tens of thousands annually, as an example. And that's what we bring to the table with this embedded solution. Speaking of the Microsoft ecosystem, we also, as I stated, have over 160 plus partners globally. And this is just in direct support for your global enterprises, whether you implement in North America, Europe, APAC, Australia. It doesn't matter. We've got definitely support and local partners if that is a need. Many of them certified to support and maintain this, but I do want to make that caveat that in North America, we do have a fully staffed onshore support capability with staff consultants and support and customer success executives, as well as technical and functional individuals and SAs and SMEs like myself. All right, so that's a little bit about sign up. Let's talk about ExFlow now and the product. And here are the key considerations, right? The art of the possible. Well, the simple fact, which I love, is we are the only embedded AP automation solution for D365. And what I mean by that is this is not a third-party product. It doesn't require an integration and maintenance of APIs. It's embedded and familiar to your users, not only in finance, but people in procurement, your buyers, executives, management, project managers, and controllers, because they use D365. And so inherently, that's one of the major value adds. And this stretches all the way down to IT. If you think about our powerful reporting and analytics, it's Power BI. Everything's based on the Power Platform. So just intrinsic value, low maintenance and detail for IT, obviously because it is not a third-party product. Once again, meaning not just IT, but you've got to train your AP clerical staff and maybe other users in yet another product on top of D365, and that's just simply not the case. So these slides will be readily available in the webinar and presented by our marketing, because I do want to take this quick hour and show you as much as I can possibly in that short amount of time. But understand, it is powerful being in the platform. It allows for your quick and massive scalability as you implement multiple legal entities. A great example of that is centralized AP across all legal entities, what we call shared services. I'm going to show you that. We're 100% Microsoft based, as I stated, based on the Azure and Power Platform capabilities that are near and dear to your IT and maintenance and people within your company. And then quantifiable measurements of success, because we're going to drop in a pre-built cube that comes with ExFlow in your entity store, really highly enhance your vendor performance analysis and your personnel, specifically approvers, right, to pay those vendors and suppliers on time, and give you analysis around that. Also very powerful within the Power Platform are records of things like price and quantity variances on purchase order lines and those cadences. So it's great to have analytics. It comes pre-built out of the box. We deliver it with ExFlow. And again, it just gives you quantifiable measurements of success as we move forward. Speaking of that, I've got a bunch of performance slideware. If any of you are interested, follow up with us directly after that. We've got European Teleperformance is one of our large customers that did an independent study on using standard Microsoft AP and then adding our automated OCR machine learning engine, EDC, we call it, ExFlow Data Capture, and then obviously ExFlow Data Capture, including the ExFlow AP automation modules. And you can quickly see the detail here, and this is something to be very aware of, the automation we're going to bring to the table by implementing this product, right? So you got 2.1 times the automation and processing straight through. Okay, 51% less time responding to supplier inquiries in a manual environment, because we're going to help you automate all of those processes, including communications with your vendors. 81% efficiency increase, faster time to process a single invoice. That goes from an average of 17.9 days down to 3.4 days. Won't it be wonderful to pay your vendors and suppliers on time and obtain those cash discounts, as an example? And then lowered costs, 79% drop, great ROI, lower invoice processing costs overall. And again, these are independent studies. We've got plenty of this type of information as you see fit to have discussions with your internal staff on the possibility of implementing ExFlow AP automation at your enterprise. Couple of advantages. Well, bottom line, it's built into D365. This is actually the true value and benefit, as I stated earlier, familiar to your users, familiar to IT on the Microsoft platform, providing just huge efficiencies, visibility, communication, control, and my point, automation. When most of our customers go live after test and UAT, we are at about an 80 percentile of touchless, fully automated invoice that's captured from your AP inbox all the way to posting to the GL. And I'm going to show you those automations right when we get into demo. And the key is to remember today, it's not just POs and expense non-POs. This is landed cost brokerage invoices. This is project management invoices. This is line attribute reading to help automate those tougher invoices that come through your AP inbox, including workflows and approval automation, much more than just your position hierarchy and signing limits that you probably utilize today, okay? Well, without further ado, let's get into the demonstration. I normally show this slide as a concept slide, but this is what you're about to see today. And again, in a quick hour, I cannot cover everything and do a whole bunch of transactional data presentations, but at the same time, we do want you to talk to your partners, contact us directly if you're definitely interested. And of course, I can do a deep dive based on your business requirements, your industry. Again, I've been at this since I was hired by Microsoft some 22 years ago when we acquired what was back then AX 3.0. But I'm going to wiggle my mouse here. We're going to start an ExFlow data capture. That's our white labeled OCR extraction and machine learning tool. It's actually Tungsten Automation, formerly Kofax, and formerly ReadSoft. We've utilized this tool set for more than 20 years, and it currently processes over 100 million invoices annually, and Sign Up Software is the largest consumer of capabilities with Tungsten Automation. What that means in layman's terms to you is we're not mapping manually every field in an invoice. We actually will automate a brand new first-time invoice and map about 80 to 90% of it automatically because we have all of those formats, and I mean globally, not just US and Canadian invoices and expenses and credits, but all supported regions within the globe. I can also ingest paper, right? You might have a janitorial service that walks in and leaves an invoice right on the reception desk. Scan it, ingest it right into D365. For our EDI customers, that's a simple ANSI X12 conversion to XML. We can ingest all of your EDI invoices. Vendor portal is not shown here, but we can ingest your invoices directly from the D365 vendor portal. And then the orange area here is ExFlow, okay? And there's two main important parts for ExFlow. One is the import form. That's where we manage exceptions. Again, the demo flow is from your AP inbox all the way to the GL. I never have to touch 80% of your invoices with our automation and configurations. AP, if I put that hat on, really will work within the import form. And then the second most important area is what we call the document form. That's where all approvals, manual approvals or other, are waiting for those executives or managers to approve from that standpoint. And then final posting to the GL, we can not automate that. Some companies like to see that journaling before it's posted to the GL. We have post-control capabilities for those purposes, confidential invoices for high dollar fixed assets and projects and things like that. And then, of course, our analytics. And BI that I told you is provided by ExFlow with every one of our implementations. And then for IT in the room today, you can clearly see all based on the standard Azure and Power Platform capabilities. And of course, if I don't say Copilot 10 or 15 times, I'll get in trouble with Microsoft. So you're going to see some serious AI and machine learning capabilities that are proprietary to sign up software, fully secure, and out of the box delivered with the product. With that being said, before I switch over to demo environment, I'm going to bring up my contact information. Again, we highly suggest that you communicate with us through your partner of record. If that's capability, you can obviously get a hold of us directly. And in North America, there's my contact information. Don't hesitate to reach out with me and I can connect you with sales and what we need to do. So with that, let's not waste any more time and show you the product. So I'm going to share my screen now. Bear with me. Sometimes we got to do a little housekeeping here. There we go. Get rid of all these little toggles. And right now we're going into ExFlow data capture. Anthony, can we see that okay?
Looking good over here.
All right, thank you, sir. Just double checking because I'm off camera now. Okay, so remember that concept slide. The first place we go is our ExFlow data capture. Technically, there's a forwarding email from your AP inbox or your multiple AP inboxes in real time across multiple legal entities, shared services. I'm showing you a manual upload here, okay? But remember my analogy, I just brought in 500 invoices automatically in real time, and there they are. This is the start of our audit trail. All of these invoices were verified, extracted, and automatically ingested right into D365 to go through the automated flow through AP, coding, pre-coding, automated workflows based on tolerances and business rules. However, I do have 4 or 5 invoices that stopped in the EDC. And I'm going to show you that now in the Verify tab. Again, not so much an AP clerical function here within our OCR tool. It's more of a financial admin. And it's pure exception management because those 500 other invoices have already flown all the way through the system and most posted to the GL automatically. But for demo purposes, I like to show this. So let's give you a little flavor of why these stopped in the EDC. Well, logically, there's a reason for that. So let's go take a look at it. I'm going to highlight this purchase order that has hundreds of lines of items on it. This is your first view at exception management within the OCR tool. You can see I mapped 95% of this entire invoice automatically, including hundreds of product detail lines. You can see this if I go through all these pages. I'm not going to spend the time to do that today, but you can see down below PO and PO lines were completely captured automatically and highlighted. And all of the detail, the vendor account number within D365. This is a purchase order invoice. It's not an expense invoice or a credit note as an example. So the logic is all pre-built in the system. But notice I do have a warning here. This is probably why this stopped in EDC. So if I highlight that warning line, it tells me clearly, Mark, this is possibly a duplicate. We've already got a lot ID, that's a ExFlow date and timestamp of that invoice number that's already been ingested. This is a duplicate invoice. So think about fraud. Think about your business rules, right? I don't want an invoice that's over 60 or 90 days to flow into D365. I want that managed and checked in EDC, right? No garbage in, no garbage out. That's kind of the logic here. And I'm just showing you a quick example of the capabilities here. I could communicate, I can email, I can even chat internally here and find the disposition, okay? Obviously a PO, I'll probably go to procurement and my buyers, but I'm trying to avoid, those calls to the vendor and all of that capability. This could be a type error. Notice also when I'm highlighting the invoice number, it is reading that scan field automatically because it knows it. I don't have to manually map this type of detail. Really great stuff here. So complex, hundreds, if not thousands of line POs can easily be managed, ingested. I can parse those as well. Another couple of quick examples. Let's look at a project management cost invoice here. So I'm going to open up my Iron Mountain and show you once again why it stopped. Just a simple invoice, right, for services for a project. Well, I didn't pick up the project ID, but the reference is me on the PMA header, right, as project controller or project manager. And that's how we automate this process, even if the invoice is void of a project ID. I can map references. I can map project IDs. We have what's called agreement IDs to manage all your recurring invoices automatically. That's how and why I don't need to touch them. But for demo purposes, same thing. This is a duplicate. I just use this as a presentation example because I don't want any duplicates as my business rule going into D365. Lastly, let's take a look at line item attributes, and that's very common in a complex corporate sell bill. So I'm going to show you a Verizon example, right, where you get the cover sheet right here. That's, your total bill for the month for all your salespeople or users of cell services or business cell services. Once again, it's a duplicate. I leave it here in my EDC to show you this. And you can see down below, this is a non-PO. But look what it's done. It's actually mapped the defined Verizon cost center logic to the account number and an attribute mapping setting that's based in the setup of ExFlow. And I'm going to show that to you in ExFlow. And what I mean by that, if I go to page 3 or 4 here, you can see clearly in the Verizon bill that these cost centers that came across from Verizon equal my salespeople and their individual cell numbers, okay? And we cross-reference that to our dimension structure that's defined, of course, in D365, main account, company, cost center, line of business, location, reference, individual name, salespeople's, however we need to configure this, once again, to automate the processing of a complex non-PO expense invoice all the way to the GL, okay? Very powerful stuff. So in a nutshell, that's our automated OCR. And again, for more information, don't hesitate to follow up with this. We can go deep into that tool set. It has its own analytics for touchless automation and those capabilities. Of course, any one of these invoices I could reject or put on hold for further exception management before I ingest it into D365. So lo and behold, let's go over and see D365. This should be recognizable to all of you. This is our embedded ExFlow. No third-party product, no integrations to manage, all fully embedded. To prove that point, I'm just going to open up the old-fashioned module list, and there you go. There's ExFlow AP. And notice the architecture. I don't have time today to go into all the setups and all of the automation configurations. I'm going to show you a few of them. But you can see the architecture. We've got these wonderful workspaces for AP and also your approvers that may or may not work in D365. If they're executives or folks in the field, project managers, remote employees, we have a web approval portal, as you saw in the concept slide. So you can actually do approvals either in D365 or within your web approval tool, which I'll cover here towards the end of the presentation. Two most important areas. This is where AP works. In the import form, this is more exception management. Remember, those 500 invoices flowed all the way through to the GL. I'm in the import form. I'm going to see the exceptions that have a reason that they stop for AP. Normally, it's missing ledger coding, pre-coding. It can't pick up a vendor. The PDF that came across in the extraction blotched out a reference field, so it stops in the import form, and that's where AP does most of their work. I'm going to show this to you. And then the document forms as well. But hopefully this looks familiar to you. It's like every other module and its architecture. We got our inquiries and reports. We've got to set up our batch processes, which we manage for performance of your velocity and volume of invoices, right? Whether we call every 5 minutes, once a day, et cetera. And that really truthfully is a capability for us when we implement to manage the volume of invoices coming through any legal entity, so there's no performance issues, right? Another powerful tool that finance loves, all of our customers, is our automated accrual batch job. So helping you in your closing periods, monthly, quarterly, yearly, we'll actually take every open invoice that's within the system and generate an accrual and a reversal process for you. And that journalizes everything. Isn't that wonderful, right? You don't have to manually do it. It helps speed up your financial closing time, probably without ExFlow that you're kind of doing horribly manually today. So again, a lot of our customers just love that capability. If I have time, I'll show that to you. And then no other difference in architecture. Setup, parameters, configurations, your users, their capability, their permissions and everything are standard Microsoft, right? Sysadmin, user roles, permissions, access, no different than what you do today, employees, workers, and ExFlow users. And the last thing I want to cover here before I get into the actual demo is how do we do this automation? And you can clearly see I'm extending standard D365, augmenting it for highly advanced workflows, okay? So you bet you've got a position hierarchy and signing limits, and you've probably either yourself or your partners built some big, brutal, complex workflow that has to be managed and maintained, and then you lose an employee, and it's got to, IT has to go back in, et cetera, et cetera. But we have group and role queue capabilities, and you can clearly see this without me drilling into it because we simply don't have time today. But I can augment your position hierarchy with rejections and other action workflows as an example. I can augment your financial dimension mapping for automatic coding. That's how we automate those invoices. If it's a marketing expense, it goes here. If it's a fixed asset, it goes to the controller. It skips the position hierarchy based on defined business rules and logic. And all that is a configuration, okay? A lot of detail here to do advanced capabilities within the system, including calling out vendors that you want to track from a machine learning and AI standpoint, okay? And if I open this setup screen, I'm going to show it to you. You can clearly see this is our automatic invoice coding for a specific list of vendors. Commonly, these are my recurring invoices, okay? Because if they are coming monthly, half yearly, quarterly, it's my electric bill, utilities, security, cell bills, insurance. They're normally the same and within a dollar tolerance, right? And if they fall within the business rule, we don't need to have eyes on them, right? It's just the monthly electric bill. It's within tolerance. It processes and posts all the way to the GL, and we pay that vendor. But this setting is telling the system, it's fully enabled, that I want to keep this record in our clustering AI technology within ExFlow. And what we do with this, and I'm going to show this to you, is we use this new automation to help AP auto code, okay? Not manually code in AP, but auto code. Just one example of many and how we do this automation. Very, very powerful. All right. Excuse me. Let's get right into it. Let's go first and foremost and put my AP hat on. So EDC extracted all those invoices, 500 of them. And I've got some exceptions now. I've got my AP hat on. I'm in one company, USMF. You guys know the Contoso demo environment. But watch this. I have cross company for centralized AP across every legal entity in my database. And all you need to do if you're in a centralized or hybrid centralized AP environment, you might have 20 companies, 10 are operating, 10 are holding. So AP is going to manage the 10 that are consuming invoices. You just quickly click that toggle. Now watch my tiles light up with all of the invoices across all of my legal entities. Boom, there we go. So again, out of the box, shared services, very powerful. And again, all of our global enterprises that utilize ExFlow AP automation love this type of capability. But for the rest of the hour today, I'm just going to keep it simple and work in one company. Now, you'll notice the tiles are based on those two most important areas. The import form, where AP does most of their work all day. I can clearly see I've got 11 invoices in my queue, and 11 are assigned to me because, again, you may have automation that queues up invoices. Maybe one group of staff in AP does cost expense invoices only and fixed assets and projects, and the other does POs and PO lines and works closely with procurement and your buyers. But these are task oriented. You guys all know you can personalize these and add more panes. It's standard Microsoft. But this is, my task orientation. I've got 3 without coding. I'm going to go after those immediately. Or maybe I've got an invoice that's got a missing vendor. So it stops in the import form for AP to manage and look up the vendor, look up the PO, look up the project, look up the landed cost voyage ID, look up the TMS load ID, which is the trigger for TMS freight billing automation, which we also provide. Maybe project management, very common that projects have a cover invoice and supportive documentation for those project controllers and project managers. And folks, that is in PMA, project management and accounting, and project operations under CE, just so you guys know. That's the benefit, again, the true value of being automated and fully embedded. And every now and then, maybe we've got a missing approver. A reference did not come over on the invoice that we logically have configured. So once again, this is where AP does most of their work. Now, inside D365, AP also has a view of the document form. So once I confirm and submit a coded, corrected exception, it goes out for approval. And this is more of a view for AP or finance administrators to see what's out for approval and who's responsible and who's late. Because again, we want to pay our vendors and our suppliers on time, okay? And I can see things that are hung up with quantity and price variances because those communications are going on with procurement, your warehouse doc, possibly your buyers and your vendors who have changed an invoice value from the original PO and they're being corrected and or bringing to some type of resolution. And then, of course, any manual exception that I send for approval can then therefore go out for final posting manually as well. But again, one nice workspace readily available. And guess where our BI is that I told you we're going to provide? It's no different than your embedded Microsoft BI. It's right in this workspace for you. So AP hat on, day in the life of Mark Palo. Here we go. Let's open the import form. I've got to get to work. Now, I'm not going to do a lot of transactions. We've only got about 25 minutes left in this webinar, and I do want to leave a little bit of time. But what I'm going to show you is the architecture of the import form and how you do work as AP. So notice the architecture is wonderful and it's familiar. It's a header on the entry screen. And each line is represented by the line detail down below. And then right next to that is this beautiful invoice, right? I can resize, modern UI. I can pop this out into multi-display, full display. I can show more real estate without even going deep into any one of these lines. There's a lot of information just on the header for AP to take that visual. What I like real quickly is on any invoice, it's telling me this is possibly a duplicate. This is a recurring invoice with an agreement ID. These are purchase orders. And I even have landed cost brokerage invoices in here. But I'm going to start with non-PO invoice types because for me, POs and expenses are easy. I want to go a little bit deeper for the folks on the webinar today. Notice this invoice is from a servicer of our business, Contoso Services, who is listed time or material or both for 4 different projects within D365. And look at the line detail on this invoice that came in. It is extracted from OCR the specific project IDs that reside in PMA and inherited all of the financial dimensions automatically. So once again, not just POs and expense invoices, project invoices, landed cost brokerage invoices and POs. Reference capability. I'm showing you line reference detail that's in a setup screen for us to do this extraction automatically. And this, of course, would post. I can open this up. If I go into edit, this is the second area that AP does their work. I'm going to open up this invoice now and just take a look at it individually. And now you're looking at a deeper view within the import form. Once again, header view, right? That's related to a purchase order, a recurring agreement and or project. The individual line detail, notice it extracted the PO number, read it, and on that one line right here, you have a third pane. This is where coding and pre-coding and attribute management are managed. So notice it inherited the project ID on that first line and all of its dollar values, the inherent financial dimension, and possibly your category and activity IDs right from the project header and detail within D365 automatically. I'm in balance here in the header. You can see this. This looks good to go. I use it for demo purposes, of course. I come up and I'm not posting this to the GL. I'm actually submitting it for approver. The approvers are also down in the pre-coding pane. So I can see the approver for this line or all lines is X, Y, and Z. Of course, it's my demo environment. This approval is for me. So I would just simply send this out for approval on the General tab and move forward. Notice up above here on the line detail, I can also suggest approvers. This is going into those augmented workflows and defined settings I showed you in the setup, where in maybe, this project manager is different than line 4. So this invoice would actually go to 2 different PMs for final approval and posting to the GL. I'm just showing you that nuance because it's a powerful automated capability to manage this, okay? There's the Verizon. Let's look at this line item attribute. There's that same Verizon bill I showed you in the extraction. Let's open it up in edit mode and take a deeper look at it real quickly. I'm out of balance. So first and foremost, that's why this invoice stopped in the import form. It cannot continue down the automated workflow and post to the GL because it's out of balance for some reason. That means possibly in the OCR extraction on that page 4, one of these values is mistaken. Maybe it's missing tax or tax wasn't calculated correctly. And you can see taxation and all of that detail in the header, in the general tab here. If I come over, again, a lot of extensive capability. There's your standard D365 calculated tax. Obviously, OCR reads the vendor provided tax, and if there's an indifference there, that's where you're going to see it in AP to manage it that way. And what I mean by that is not just US tax, that's Canada, GST, HST, PST, that's Europe, VAT, all of the capabilities there. India taxes, South America, you name it. Wherever Microsoft is, we've got those capabilities. But what I'm showing you is an out of balance, and that is the reason this stopped for AP to manage. Without further ado, look what's down in the coding pane. It's converted from the attributes that are defined in the ExFlow setup to my main account and business unit by line. So that's cost center 2 for that group of salespeople. It's cost center 4 for this group of salespeople, cost center 5, or location, or however the definition is in the line attribute mapping that comes out of the box with ExFlow. If AP needs to look at the attribute mapping, right at your fingertips, right there, boom. So I can see that this mapping from Verizon's account to our main account and that cost center, business unit, line of business, or location is automatic. That's how we do this, okay? Let's look at some more automation. I'm going to show you the agreement ID, all your recurring invoices. That's called agreements or agreement IDs. Think of it as a contract in ExFlow. This is an ExFlow setup. Very self-explanatory. I'm going to use ADT, my security provider, as the next example in the import form. And you can see I've got my electric bill, my annual marketing spend, I've got car insurance and my building and maintenance insurance. Just focus on line 1 here, my ADT. The agreement number is commonly your account number with your electric company, ADT, utility company, etc. Your insurance might be the policy numbers, okay? And obviously I'm the reference if in fact an invoice comes in outside of tolerance. I don't want that to post to the GL. I want that to stop in the import form to check coding and come to me for approval. Commonly that's in the sell bill area where you have a new salesperson that crosses countries or regions and forgets to turn their roaming off, and now they're out of their monthly tolerance because they've incurred a $500 Rogers Telecom or European Telecom accessorial charge because they were a newbie and forgot to turn their roaming off when they left the country. Great example. But look at ADT. I simply define the ADT account number, the legal entity that I'm in and represent, the vendor themselves, the contract date, you know, annual, yearly, multi-year, whatever that might be. It records the last invoice number because some of these I want in my AI and machine learning logic. I'll show you that next. The invoice recurrence, obviously monthly for my utility, rent, leases, and security, half yearly for my insurance policies. And then this is where you set the tolerance and the rules. Any location security bill that comes in monthly over $75, stop it. Do not post it and do not send it for automated approval. That needs to have eyes on it because something's wrong. Same with my monthly electric bill or my half yearly insurance bills, right? If it's within tolerance, send it out for automatic approval. If it's not, you send it out manually, and that's what you're going to see, okay? And you can define individuals responsible and put a description there, electric bill, utility bill, etc. So once again, I don't have time today in the webinar to show you all these wonderful automation setups, but that is where they reside out of the box in ExFlow. We're going to teach you and train you on this when we do the implementation, and then we move forward. So the last thing I want to do in the import form is show you some of that automation. So back to the import form. Let's go highlight that ADT. Now this should have flown through, okay? But even before I go into edit, I can clearly see I'm missing my dimension and pre-coding. And of course, folks, for the webinar, I deleted it to show you this function. This invoice would normally fall within the date time period of that agreement, within the tolerance of dollar value. It's legitimate. It would auto code it and push it all the way to the GL automatically. You would never have to have eyes on this, okay? But let's go into edit mode because I got my AP hat on still, and something's wrong with this invoice. It's stopped in the import form. So I open it up just like you've already seen. Notice the line type is a ledger. This is a non-PO expense. It's not a project. It's a recurring expense. And in my coding pane down below, you can clearly see there is no ledger account, okay? So there's two ways to manage this, manually or automatically for your AP clerical staff. So if I'm a seasoned AP person, I know this is an expense account. I just hit 6 or type in insurance or advertising or security. And here you go. Here's my embeddedness right out of the box, right? I'm not a third-party product. I'm not making a call into D365's database. There you go. So I can quickly manually pre-code this since I'm a seasoned AP clerk and I know which expense this should be, which business unit, which department, because that's the business rules for coding this invoice, okay? And it warns me, Mark, 6 does not exist because I'm looking right at your main account structure, fully embedded in D365. So I'm going to delete that and blank it out again. Yep, standard alerts. I'm going to save it blank. And now I'm going to show you the AI machine learning automation. Watch this. So let's say I'm a newbie AP clerk, and I kind of know the account and dimension structures that reside in D365, but hey, I want to clear these 11 invoices and take my lunch break and get on with my day. So I know that there are specific recurring invoices that are aligned to automatic invoice coding. And we've done business with ADT for 10 years, and I get a monthly bill every month. All of that machine learning data is in our clustering AI technology that comes from ExFlow. I want to make a really clear point here. There's no third-party AI there. No Lambda, no Open AI, no Chat GBT. Fully secure, again, for Sarbanes-Oxley, GAAP, IFRS, SOC, and ISO compliance, okay? This is a proprietary engine developed by our machine learning and AI team within Sign-Up Software. But once again, AP clerk, I'm a newbie. Tell me how to code this, Mark. And you just click on it. We joke about it. We call this the Brainiac. Just click on the Brainiac on your upper ribbon, and it is going to tell you, based on all the history, the highest predictability. I only have one line here. You could have multiple lines here, but this would clearly tell me, if I look deeper into it, the percentage and capability of its accuracy. And so again, D365 knows how you've coded this recurring invoice over time. And all I do in AP is click the replace button and I'm done. That's automatic invoice coding. And that's it. I come up to general and I submit this for approval. I'm not going to do that because it will bypass the approver. Because there's nothing else wrong with this invoice, right? If I wanted to see the approver, I could look down in that pane and see this is going to automatically approve. Maybe I do want to manually suggest approvers, all lines, or on the entire invoice itself, or I can manually add an approver if I have the secure rights to do so. So manual pre-coding, automatic pre-coding, AI and machine learning capabilities. And that is the day in the life of AP. All right, about 10 minutes left. I got to quickly show you the remainder, and that's going to be documented approvals. And remember, I stated we can do it inside D365. More commonly, it's done in our Power App and web cloud service, but I do want to show this to you. Remember where I started in the AP vendor management area. This is just another workspace for those users that are D365 users and work, within the office, within D365. It shows me, I've got 6 invoices out to approve. We logically break these down. All of our customers globally over all these years have really kind of asked us at Sign Up to break up invoices by cost, non-PO, and PO, because a lot of their staff and personnel within finance and other areas are aligned to this, right? One group does cost and project management and landed cost brokerage invoices, and the other group just does clean POs for manufacturing, distribution, production, etc. A couple of other nice task panes, right? I've got 4 due right now. I better get those done, pay our vendors and suppliers on time. I've got 18 I did this morning already. I can look at history. It never goes anywhere. It's in the complete audit trail from your AP inbox all the way to the general ledger, and then in our BI for your auditors, okay? I might have stuff on hold that I'm working on as an example, and I can quickly drill into this. I'm just going to do this quickly. And the document form looks much like the import form, but it's more simplified because, again, this is not so much an AP professional. This is a manager, an executive, that would do approvals within D365. So I can see this is actually the landed cost PO, the original item PO for this landed cost shipment coming, a bunch of Surface Pro computers coming in, and it's my job to approve this and pay this vendor. And you can see down below, not as much detail, because again, most companies truthfully don't allow approvers to recode and change GL structure coming out of AP. However, you can do that, and we can enable all these fields. It's really up to you, your business processes, and your business practices, okay? But again, manually, I can approve a line. I can approve all lines. I can reject this. I can put it on hold. And I've got a lot of other usability here within the system. Notice my chat button. I don't have to get on the phone. I don't have to send an email. This is an ExFlow function called chat that's available for approvers to chat back and forth with procurement or AP. So if I'm the approver, I might say, hey, AP, please check this before I approve. Something's fishy. And that is a data, user, and timestamp that is on this record for your audit trail, and commonly for rejections, on holds, or let's say troublesome invoices, okay? Full audit trail embedded in your D365 database. Very, very powerful, okay? But commonly, most of our customers will use our wonderful ExFlow web cloud approval processes. You can see modern UI, available on any device and operating system, Android, iOS. I can resize this if I do have a home office multi-display. I can pop it out. I've got some nice tutorials. Maybe I'm the marketing exec and I did go through ExFlow training, but I only approve my invoices once a month and I forgot how to do it after training, right? So we got some click-through demo tutorials, some nice information here available out of the box. And I can, of course, hide this for seasoned approvers. A direct link to our document management library, our public document and customer document library, again, for training purposes, review, etc. Some nice news, right, for old legacy customers of ours on our current releases. For all of those on the webinar, we follow exactly the Microsoft release cadence, 2 major waves a year. And from there, patches or fixes as Microsoft does it come in through LCS or your feature management, and IT loves it because it's the same cadence as Microsoft. We are embedded. That's the true value. There is no hiccups with third-party competitive product delays in their enhancements and managing certifications with Microsoft or any of that. Very, very nice for IT. For all of our customers. But, let's take a look at just 1 or 2 of these invoices. I'm almost at time, 5 minutes left, and I do want to show you the BI. So this is how you view and manage, those 11 or so invoices that you saw in D365 within my web cloud approval tool. And again, I highlight the line here, Wagner Cat, you guys saw that PO. The architecture is information at your fingertips, then the actual original image of PO and the supportive attachments, all those hundreds of lines coming in, and then the lower pane, again, resized on your smartphone, your tablet, you're at Starbucks having lunch, doing your approvals, all of that details here. Now, a couple of other nice features is most approvers are not going to look at 500 PO lines and how they were coded, right? And we have a summarization automation that comes with ExFlow. And it's specifically for these giant PO and PO line invoices where I summarize it for the approver. And that's right here in this attachment. Take a look at this. Excel, standard Microsoft. I open this up and it's familiar. And your approver can now see one line that represents this entire invoice of hundreds of lines. Okay, I get it. It was this PO, this vendor. I'm the approver. It was for a total of 4,884 on these dates. Looks good to me. I don't have to look at hundreds of pages of invoice. I'm good to go, and I'm going to approve this invoice now. Okay? Very powerful product categorization and even individual line summarization capabilities for those large invoices. There's a chat. I showed you the chat in D365, no different. The chat's right here for you to communicate back with AP, procurement, warehousing, if they're ExFlow users as an example, very powerful there. Maybe my kid gets sick at school. I got to run out for the day. I've got a replacer and delegate. So I would add Morgan, my boss, and say, hey, Morgan, I got to run to school and pick up the sick kid. We've got to get these invoices approved. Would you please manage that till I get back tomorrow? Thank you. Right? So lots of powerful remote approval automation built into this tool set, hosted by sign-up software, easily maintained, and a lot of other features like automated line splitting, copying, and pasting, if in fact you allow approvers to manage the coding and pre-coding. Lastly, BI, I want to show that to you. So I told you when we started, out of the box, we give you a powerful cube in your entity store, and that's accessed directly from your workspace or workspaces. You simply come over here to Analytics in our ExFlow vendor invoice management workspace. And this does time out on me now and then. There we go. And now you're going to see the architecture of our BI cube, and I'll start with the total invoice process overview. So this is all invoices of all invoice types over the last 12 or 24 months, broken down by velocity, volume, really any record that you want. You can filter it as just a standard BI user. Maybe your partner and or yourselves have a Power BI Pro license, and you could go into the entity stores and manipulate these, or we can help you, assist you when you deploy this in implementation. But this comes with the product. It's also logically broken down by cost invoices and purchase invoices. I can see my cost invoices here, all of my vendors. There's the ADT. There's the ones you saw in my live demo. And the velocity over time period, that's up to you on how this is configured. And then purchase order invoices separate than cost invoices. Very powerful analytics, kind of the same logic, right? All my vendors, POs over time and velocity. But real important here, I love these two analytics, not just my top best PO matches. Those are my good vendors. I'm more concerned with my bad vendors. Now, this could be a myriad of issues. This could be bad OCR reading. Your supplier is using a 20-year-old Epson dot matrix printer. Their invoice looks fine to the naked eye when they print it. When they scan it to PDF, it's too low of a resolution for modern OCR. And that's any OCR, not just ours. So it comes through all blotchy. What's the resolution? Buy your vendor a nice new printer for Christmas, right? Resolved, and now I'm reading their invoices. This is also vendor management. This is going to keep a record of your price and quantity variances for all of those, let's say, tough vendors, for you to have an opportunity to discussion with them. Hey, Joe, every time I get an invoice from you, it doesn't match the original PO. You guys short ship us continuously, or you short ship us out of tolerance continuously. Let's have a nice opportunity, relationship discussion, and clean this up Otherwise, I'm going to go find another vendor. And then lastly, folks, we call this the wall of shame. We joke about that internally. This is your internal approvers. This is me and their analytics and their time to approval. So my boss would say, Mark, you did pick up your normal approval time from 17 days to 13, but let's try and get it done in 5, right? Performance review approval. Or remember my shared services, I'm looking at every legal entity in my global enterprise. And I'm going to go over here and look at my Aussie counterparts to sign up. And I can see in Australia, poor Justina is doing the high volume of all approvals, and the rest of the team is not doing that much. So once again, a nice internal opportunity based on analytics and data for you to have a discussion with the team. Folks, let's share the love. Poor Justina's doing all the approvals. Let's break this out by cost and PO or landed cost, etc. And then lastly, folks, we're at time, big data. Every transaction in every legal entity, from the AP inbox insertion all the way to the general ledger posting, is in your D365 database until archived to Data Lake or Azure Blob Storage or even SharePoint, including the original images of invoices and attachments anywhere, not just on the PO. Okay. Very, very powerful. Okay, we are at time. I am going to stop sharing my screen real quick here. Stop sharing. And Anthony, if you're still on, I know we're at time. Were there any questions I can answer real quick?
Yeah, we did. Great. Thank you for the great walkthrough, Mark. Appreciate it. So we did have one question here. So it is, what happens when we get an invoice for a PO that is not received yet in the system?
Oh, great question. So those are automatically put on hold. Of course, we can't pay an invoice without receipt. This is obviously common with importation too, where you've cut a PO, you get an invoice for the PO first and maybe from your brokerage invoice when it ships, but those goods don't arrive for 15, 18, 30 days later. So we'll extract the invoice automatically to the import form that I showed you, and it stays there on a hold status. Guess what? There's a batch job that's always running in the background, recurring, can be daily, hourly, every 3 days, where I'm looking for your D365 receipts. And that's either in inventory management, basic warehousing, or it is in WMS and TMS, depending on where that's at. And that invoice can't be paid. I mentioned short shipping in my BI analysis, right? You have tolerances. All those configurations are set in core standard D365. So any receipt outside of tolerance also remains on hold. But as I showed you in demo, AP goes to work. The approvers can see that I have a price and quantity variance. And then you can chat internally with procurement, the warehouse floor, AP to resolve this, and or worst case, make that phone call or email to your vendor to find out where those goods are in process. Great question, but we fully automate that process for you. Thanks, Anthony. Any other questions here at time?
I think we're going to give it just one more minute here, see if anyone has any additional questions. If not, we are going to let everyone go.
Okay, wonderful. I'll kick it off by saying thank you, everyone, for joining this. This is the first in a multitude of new webinar series coming from SMEs or pre-sales folks, engineers like myself, across all of our product lines. Again, I think I stated extensions, and our Office of the COO webinar is tomorrow with Dave Sortis, one of my colleagues here in North America. And if there's no other questions, Anthony, I want to thank everyone and have a great rest of your week. And please contact your partner, contact us directly, contact me, fire me an email, and I'll set you up with our sales. And we'd love to take a much deeper dive than the quick 45 minutes I had today.
That's it for questions, Mark. Thank you so much, and thank you all for attending.
Wonderful. Thank you. Have a great week. Thanks, Anthony.